Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Katie Huff Mortensen with Katie Huff Ministries and Setting Yourself Free. I have Mr. Jim Price from the Jim Price Show here today, and I am thrilled to have him here. And I want to make sure that you know exactly where to go because we're going to be on everything because we want everyone to hear this incredible message. So we're going to be on X and Facebook and Spotify and Rumble and Apple. So there's no reason for you to not get educated, inspired, and moved to not settle anymore in life and in your profession. So Jim Price is here at the Jim Price Show, and it's amazing to have him. He's just a book of knowledge and has been speaking truth in life over people, and I'm thrilled to have him. So thank you, Mr. Jim. I appreciate you and all that you're doing, and always love hearing from you and learning from you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And we've actually had a couple interviews live in person at a couple different episodes or a couple of shows. We met in Ohio, and then we did another interview we were in South Carolina.
Yes, and I think we were even in Las Vegas together.
Yeah, absolutely were.
Been around.
Yeah, it's been good, to see someone like yourself that's out there doing all the right things, which is basically, opening up our mouths and saying what we see and understanding that there are a lot of things that we can't keep in our heart any longer. We have to talk about these, and we have to really pedal in a term that a lot of people feel this is a God's thing. This is not my thing. This is a warrior's thing. But righteous indignation is actually necessary. God tells you that when you see someone who's willfully wronged you, and we're talking about government, elected officials, public servants. When these people have wronged you, it is your duty to right that wrong. And the sad part of it is to turn the other cheek is not meaning that I want you to smack me again, but that you're to offer up your cheek because you struck me. So there's so many words or things that we use in our daily lives. We infer, well, to turn the other cheek, meaning that we get hit again. Well, no, in reality, God never told you to be a victim. He always told you to stand strong, to not live in fear. Well, you're not going to live in fear. That means you're bold and brave. You're not going to allow someone to strike you again after the first time. And then the idea of don't use God's name in vain. Well, the word vain, we're talking about not using it. And so too many times in our lives right now, we have all these opportunities where we can be so much better and so much bigger. But you've been out there pushing the word and doing the things that you're supposed to be doing at all these events. And it's been great to see you and be a part of those things as well. And I'm honored to be on your show. So thank you for having me here.
Oh, well, I am just blessed. And I know that you're sharing your heart and what we've been through and what you've been through is going to motivate people and be inspired to not be a victim and not live in a life of hypocrisy and doing one thing, but saying one thing and then doing another, which is never good. So I'm thrilled to have you. You are such just an encourager and have been out there on the road speaking truth. So that's what we're all about, is setting people free from whatever is holding them back. And this victimhood is not the answer. So thank you so much.
Well, remember, fear is actually a very powerful tool, but in reality that people fear freedom. Now, I can say, well, I want everybody to understand what freedom and liberty is freedom is the body's ability to move freely when it wants to, and the mind's liberty to think of anything it wants to and to do and act on those actions. And if I were to tell you today that, well, we have a situation where the Constitution, I got a sneeze coming on, so we'll have to, here it comes.
It always happens, right?
Yeah, I knew it was coming. I just was like, timing of it. But I was just talking about, I apologize. Complete brain fart. Huh? The Constitution. Where are we going with the Constitution? So the idea, and I think I'm going to try to back up a little bit more from the Constitution. What else I was talking about? Sorry.
Victimhood and hypocrisy and the heart.
Right. Well, okay. So I don't know where I was going. So the idea is that we know the heart of the man is exceedingly wicked, but fear is a tool to manipulate people, right? But then God says, "Thou shalt not live in fear." Well, then we have this cycle of things that we keep believing that there are things that we should be fear of, but we shouldn't be fearful of. And so this is where going out and speaking these things and talking about these things and being open with these things, this is how we push back against the narrative that's out there. The bad part of it is that too many of us were told to not talk about politics and not talk about religion at the kitchen table, but now we've lost fathers in the home, we've lost religion in our home, and now we just got a broken home and a broken country, and we can't figure out why. I was talking to Sheriff Mack yesterday, and I said, the public school systems, we were talking about shutting down the the federal level of education system, that bringing it back to the states and local levels, which is what the Constitution tells us, that the states supersede the federal government. Well, anyway, we were talking about this yesterday. I said, well, the problem is that schools have turned into a babysitting center for fatherless children.
Correct.
And there's no way to describe it any other way than that, because those that are really trying and have that ability or have found a way, put their kids in private school away from that public school. So you're you're putting a concentrated amount of kids into a building who do not have a father to create discernment in children. And fathers teach children discernment by telling them no. I say this often. I say children, dogs, and the government need to be told no often because it makes them better. Well, in reality, fathers raise children, women or mothers nurture children. Two different things.
Right.
Raise a child is to tell them no and to quit, get your booger hook out of your nose and quit digging at your butt all the time. That's what fathers do. And they go, well, what? Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, dad said don't pick my nose, don't grab my butt. So this is where we start normalizing certain behaviors in public, and then we make them better people. And then mothers nurture them. They give them that soft side, the empathy, the sympathy side of things. And so we have that, but in the reality in our society that we know that we have been silent for too long, we have not been able to maintain our focus on where we should be, with having fathers at the head of the household, with God as the center. And we know that that is biblical. We know that that's where we should be. That's our wheelhouse.
Right.
They have taught us to be quiet. They've taught us to be silent. They taught us not to talk about. They taught us, I mean, taught, program, go to school, be nothing, be this, be that. Take everything out of school that's actually worth going to school for. And why do we spend 2/3 of a child's life by the time they're 18 setting them through a government machine and expecting them to be anything but a government worshiper?
Right.
If the government has had a hold of you for 2/3 of your life, then shouldn't you ultimately be a government worshiper? You have spent day after hour, after study session, after test, after things to be taught into that public school system. We don't do that with our religion. We get 15 minutes on Sunday from a preacher, and we think he's actually done a whole year's worth of work. Hey, where are we at with that? 15 minutes worth of preaching on Sunday is going to save your soul, but you send that kid for 6 and 8 and 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday, and sometimes Saturday and Sunday, depending on extracurricular activities. You're telling me that we're balancing our lives in the way we should? I don't know, guys. We've actually been quiet too long. We've allowed the wrong industry to teach our children. We should be putting 7 and 8 and 12 hours of Christianity, of Bible teaching, of selfless nature, teaching our children that, and not putting them through the government machine and wondering why they worship the government and not worship their God.
Yeah, that's a mic drop for sure, because it's self-evident, as you said, of them, spending more time at school and not having the home being the main educator of what's going on.
Right. Think about that. That seems so simple, but yet it's not. And I will tell you right now, I'm a grandfather of 6, and I really am almost in a panic. I look back on how we didn't really get all of our kids their vaccinations. We weren't really good doobies to get in there and get everything done. We missed a few here or there. But I'm ashamed of the ones I did give my children, because I actually kind of knew about some of the stuff wasn't real copacetic, wasn't real good for us back then. And I think back on those times, and I think about how my children have been raised, and I think about how my grandchildren are going into their lives now, and I think about what I could do for them. But the first thing I want to do is never let them near a government institution called education.
Right.
I don't ever want them to be a part of the system that we all have been programmed into. I was having a conversation with a lady just the other day, and I was like, well, that's programming. She's like, what? It's not programming. That's how I was raised. How many of us have said that? Well, that's how I was raised.
Yeah.
I was raised, well, no, or were you programmed? See, if you can't brush your teeth tomorrow with your opposite hand and just go in there and act like it's nothing. See, if you can't do that, then you're programmed to only use one hand. See, the point of it is I can show you just in the simple fact of you can't brush your own teeth with an opposite hand. Well, I'm not right-handed. I'm not left-handed. No. Are you right-handed because you were programmed to believe you were right-handed? Or are you left-handed because you were programmed? Here's the thing. Well, no, that's how I am. I'm left-handed. I'm not rejecting your idea that you're left-handed.
Right.
What I am rejecting is the idea that it's necessary that you do the same thing over and over again the same exact way, but you expect a different response. You expect your life to get better, be more amazing. And I say this often, and I want people to understand that our intentions of our heart and what we think in our mind, what we harbor,
Mhm.
creates a future for us. I,
Absolutely.
I think in other interviews with you, I think I've said this. I say it on my show all the time. Your future is a reflection of your heart now. Make sure your heart's in the right place every single day, being better than the day before.
Right.
That right there is profound in so many ways. It's biblical, it's spiritual, everything you could think of. But where is your heart at? Where is your intention? Where is your focus?
Mhm.
See, even God talks about where is your focus? Where is your eyes? Are you gazing your eyes? Where are you putting that gaze at? Where are you putting your future at? And we have to think about how we tear away the programming so that our future is a purpose-driven future, that we're doing what we want to do, not what the programming has told us to do, just auto response.
Absolutely. It's like we were created for a reason and not just a season. And if we want to leave our fingerprint on this world, then we need to be purposeful in of what we're doing and how we're speaking and just the examples of our life.
Yes, absolutely. Now, and think about that even in just how we go through our daily lives of the grocery store, how you get your gas, or how break away from a pattern and see how pattern driven your life is. Do just one thing differently. Just do one thing differently. Do it somehow opposite of how you've always done it. Put your shoes, both the sock and the shoe on one foot and sock and shoe on the other, and see how crazy that feels. And then tell me you're not programmed. These
Exactly.
guys, we've been put into this system and we say that we have free will. What's the one thing God gave you? Why does God allow you to sin? Why does God allow you to break his heart? Because you have free will.
Right.
Have you given that free will away to the programming? Because your brain, and I'll give you the reason why you do it. This is not all just sin nature, but your brain is built to be an amazing calculating machine, memory calculator, remember this, that, all these different, you got all kinds of stuff. Your heart's beating all the time. You're asleep, passed out. You're just dreaming and your heart's still beating. You're not thinking about, right? So all these things are going on. So when you think about how your mind works, your mind wants to put things in easy categories, easy patterns, so it can do other amazing things because it wants to make room for you to do amazing things. But if you're only just doing programming and you're not doing the amazing things, you're wasting everything God gave you. God gave you this amazing computer that simplifies these tasks so you don't even think about it. You don't think about how to walk up a set of stairs. You don't think about how to turn a doorknob. You don't think about how to flush the toilet. You don't think about how to brush your teeth. You just do it, right?
Right.
But that's programming. So think about how much, if you feel how weird you feel in that programming to change it, how much other programming are you doing?
Exactly.
So the point is that we have to break away from those things so that we can be better and we can actually do things authentically. So
Mm,
we talked about a little bit of the, like you said earlier, being authentic or the hypocrisy of things.
right.
Well, we just learned this week that Uncle Joe decided he wanted to pardon his son for 10
Right.
years of things. Well, we all think that's a horrible thing and blah, blah, blah. He went against his word. Well, the Father's love will do a lot of amazing things for you.
Correct.
When I was raided and sitting in my front yard in a
Mm,
cop car, handcuffed for 6 hours, and the man come up and said, "Where's your son?" I said, "Well, he's at work. He's not there. We went to pick him up." I said, "Whatever you found in my house is mine." "All right, guys, we got what we want. Roll it up. Let's go." See, they were going to use my son as leverage against me. And
wow.
whether we know what really is going on with the establishment, the deep state with Joe, I don't blame him for forgiving his son. I don't have a problem with that, but I do have a problem with this hypocrisy and the lying that he's ever going to do it. And that's the part where it drives me crazy. But I will tell you this: I think that there's a thing with this whole thing. Let me give you a thing. Let me give you a thing, an inside thing.
Okay.
So, in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and there's some amendments in there, and there's an amendment in there, there's a Fifth Amendment. It's talking about how you can't perjure yourself, that you can't testify against yourself. You have the right to remain silent, right? The Miranda's Act or Miranda statement that says the Miranda rights, have you been read your Miranda rights? You have the right to remain silent. Anything will be used against you in court of law. Well, if you no longer can perjure yourself because you have been forgiven of any sins for 10 years of your life, 2014 to 2024. If you have, oh, by the way, they're kicking the pardon out. The DOJ is not allowing the pardon to go through. That's a whole other thing coming out. But I do believe there's something else here, and I think it will go through because I think that Hunter Biden is going to be a useful idiot.
Mm,
I think this is part of the deal, letting Joe slide out with his dementia. There's still a possibility that, Kamala, whatever her name is going to show up as president before the end of this whole thing, but I don't know. We'll see. That's a whole side note.
oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, when Hunter Biden accepts his pardon, he no longer can be held liable or can perjure himself or do anything against himself because he has immunity. So
Right.
he has a pardon for 10 years. Well, that means that he will be compelled to answer all questions answered completely and honestly because he can't perjure himself because he can't be held liable for crimes. So that actually will go against Uncle Joe and others because he will be a character witness. I was there. I was in the room. I said this. He did that. And I think maybe just possibly that this is a way of us actually getting the Epstein, P. Diddy, the Hunter Biden laptop, all those things will come pouring out because he will be that guy. And so this is a thing where I think that there's a possibility there for a father's love. He pardoned his son, but I think it opened up a bear trap of liability because he will be compelled to testify in open court and in front of Congress because he can't be held liable for his own sins. Does that make sense?
It does. And it's very interesting. Oh, the web we weave.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think he's going to get out of it. But again, we know some of the crimes that he committed and talked about were prior to 2014 when he went on the Burisma board. But we'll see how all that goes along. But remember, what's 2014? That's when Uncle Joe was making those visits to Ukraine and China. And so Junior was getting access to top secret behind the scenes information. And then suddenly he was on all these boards.
And getting paid very well for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For a job you don't have to show up to but 3 times a year and
Yeah.
good stuff. But no, anyway, there's a lot out there that's on that whole thing, and I think the hypocrisy of it was lying about it. The sad part of it is that they're showing who they are.
Correct.
Joe didn't accidentally be a creep today.
No.
It's not like oh man, that's just not my character. Yeah, I didn't mean to lie. That's not like me. I didn't mean to deceive you and tell you. That's all this guy's done.
Right.
I mean, we go clear back to Joe Biden's wife and how she came up dead. And I say came up dead because I don't believe the car accident was
An accident.
maybe an accident, right? So this is where there's a rub there. There's some, what?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, and Joe has talked about people and things, and he's used a lot of words that I don't care what your words you use, but he has said very direct things about the very people that he says he's defending. So he's been contradictory. We see the narcissistic, selfish behavior, the ego behavior. We see those things going on out there. So we know that he's peddling in a lot of the stuff, and that hypocrisy drives us crazy. Because it's like, okay, well, which one is it? Were you telling me the truth then or you tell me the truth now? Because you tell me you're not a liar, but which one of these is a lie so that I can move away from calling you a liar or a truth teller? What is it?
Right.
And this is why we have the confusion. This is why we cause pause. Now, I say this sounds like a guy thing to say, but I say he who hesitates dies.
Mm.
And the word to say he who hesitates dies. Well, you've ever kind of pulled your car out a little bit and you go, oh, and then all of a sudden now you're hanging out. There's a car behind you. Your car's kind of out in the intersection. You're in the way. He who hesitates dies. I mean, you stuck yourself out there. Well, I think a lot of what we see, especially as conservatives or Christians, and that's why a lot of Christians don't, I think this is why Christians don't vote, is because they get locked up and they get vapor locked. They get stuck. They don't know what to move forward or backwards or sideways. They don't know what to go. Oh, I don't know what to do. Well, the problem is that inaction is twice as bad as an action.
Right.
Because inaction really creates it's a way bigger action because it becomes a stopping point. And because Christians don't vote, we actually have a Christianless society that we live in because the greatest voting bloc, the greatest non-voting bloc that they watch, and they are very proud of this. By the way, you want to call yourself a Christian, understand those that are trying to destroy you applaud and laugh at the fact that Christians don't bother to show up to vote. So shame on you. You give them something to laugh about. You give them a belly laugh because you guys don't show up and vote, and you can't kick them out because you don't show up. This is it. If you guys want to turn around the city, county, state, and the federal government, show up to vote. Don't sit here and rub your pearls and go, "Oh Lord, help us." No, help yourself. Isn't that
Mm,
what God told you to do anyway? And Jesus, like, get out there, come on, go do something, be
mm,
active, right?
mm,
But we don't see ourselves there, and yet, and here's the other thing too, and I speak about this boldly, and it's one of my things. Preachers, I don't care, Sunday school teachers, I don't care if the candlestick maker at the church, need to start talking politics because politics directly affect the church. And if you think that keeping your charity designation is worth more than talking the truth, then you're not in the right church. So if you lose your charity designation because you start talking politics, then you're on the right side of things because the
right.
government doesn't like what you're saying. You see the point there? They're going to let you keep your money if you don't talk about their secrets. So
Mm,
who's getting paid off?
exactly. Well, the truth will always set us free.
Mhm.
But I would say, and time either promotes you or exposes you. It's just a matter of time because the truth will come out. It
Yeah,
always does.
yeah. Well, and that's there was I don't Alex Jones and Tucker Carlson. These are people that have kind of run around in our head a little bit over the last few years. We've all seen them.
Mhm.
They did a great interview together, and one of the things that I saw a segment of Alex Jones' interview with Joe Rogan where he talked about being honest
Mhm.
and how honesty actually clears your brain, clears your mind,
Yep.
actually allows you to think freely, and allows you to be more clear about your intentions. And Tucker Carlson and him got into a longer in-depth conversation about it. But really the point is that you actually create freedom and liberty of your mind because you're not clouding yourself up with all the crap.
Well,
And
then you
even
have,
omission. Go ahead.
yeah. And it's just like, then you have to try and remember what you said because it
Yeah.
wasn't the truth. And
Right.
so that's a situation where you get caught.
It's baggage.
It
Why
is.
why bring that with you? Why bring that forward? So just get out there and say the truth. And guys, if anybody, I mean, a lot of people they know me and they come up and they're like, well, at least Jim, I'm going to get the truth from you,
And that's a
whether
good
I
thing.
want to hear it or not. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
you wanted me to lie to you, but then doesn't that break our relationship and our bond of intimacy that we created through being truthful with each other? By the way, intimacy is I love talking about intimacy in a quick way here. I want to talk about, I want to give everybody a point of this. Intimacy is the inside joke that me and Kathy have. Or that we like, hey, remember, we do a little elbow bump or something. But we have a little moment there. That's something that we share. But that's not sexual. It's not, any, thing physical.
Right.
But the intimacy that we create with each other is necessary to create those bonds so that we can then interact with others that associate with you as well. It's necessary to create those little conversations. And what to back all that up is the more we talk to each other, the more we get to know each other. We know, hey, Bill's got that three-legged dog. Hey, Bill, how's your three-legged dog, man? I'll be honest with you, that's intimacy. I know something about Bill that he's got a three-legged dog.
Right.
But we don't peddle in that, right? Because we think of as intimacy as something but that's absolutely necessary. We need to do that. And how do you make people unweird? How do you make that person at church, at work, at wherever you get your coffee in the morning? How do you make them unweird? You talk to them
Right.
and you talk to them and you talk to them and you talk to them. And then all of a sudden they're normalizing to you and you're normalizing to them and they're no longer weird. See, again, this also goes back to talking and communication and coming together and being truthful and being honest and all those things that we're not seeing in our government officials are public servants. And that's one of the things that I think is so necessary in this time is to use the right words. We have public servants. They are beholden to us. The individual state rights supersede the federal government. The federal government has two functions, immigration and national security. Look it up in your own constitution. And anything outside the constitution is repugnant. It's
Yep.
vomit. It's gross. It's hot garbage. It's sewage on fire. It's whatever you want to think of the worst that you wouldn't want to smell or touch or be a part of.
Mhm.
Anything outside of the Constitution is repugnant. And think about that. What about the Bible?
Mm.
What
And
about our faith? What about those things, right? And they're all bound to the Constitution. But
yeah.
you got to exercise your Constitution as a contract. You got to use it. So it's very essential. You got to be a part of this stuff, guys.
Right. And you have to get off of center and stand up for what is right and having intimacy and knowing that what has happened in our country in the last 4 years is horrific. I mean, how
Well,
many million people do we have that were immigrants that came in that were, is it like, I don't even know what the number is. It continues to go up,
it's between 20 and 30 million.
which is
Which if
crazy.
you think about that, guys, that's 10%. That's 10% of our population has been renewed by people outside of this country. That we think we've been able to track that many people coming in. Now, does that mean that we've tracked everybody?
No,
Sad part of this is that we don't think of it in a way as stealing. We don't think of it a way as actually someone purposely, doing something offense against us. We're thinking, oh, well, look at this woman and this baby. Oh, we should forgive them. And the problem is that's their way of using your kind-hearted nature against you.
right?
And that is evil in its sense, right there, right there. That to say, oh, well, you should forgive these kids. They're in cages. Come on, guys, stop that. If you got pulled over and you were DUI and you had 29,000 kids in your car, you are going to jail and your 29,000 kids are going to jail too. But they're going to kitty jail until they find a parent. And if they don't find a parent, then they get to sit in kitty jail for a lot longer. Well,
Right.
you came from a third world country speaking a language that a lot of us don't even know. What was it? They're saying that there's like 50 some languages showing up to the southern border we have no interpreter for.
Yeah, right.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
So again, this is this language where we use words and they use words against us. They use our emotions against us. But guys, when you grow up as a killer, as a manipulator, as a deceiver, and
Mm,
100% of your life has always been that, don't be mad at them because their barometer is set to evil and your barometer is set to kindness and goodness. You're going
mm,
to think differently than they are. They're
mm,
going to want to kill where you're trying to preserve life, so you're their enemy. So those that kill, those that want to maim and consume and destroy lives and rape and pillage and all the killing, all that, that's who they are. And why are you mad at them? Because that's who they are. They're
mm.
mad at you for being the way you are. So why is there a battle? Well, there's always a battle of good and evil, the yin and yang, the black and the white, the good and evil. It's
There's
always
good
been.
and evil in everything, and it's very self-evident.
Yeah.
And you can't expect the evil that has never been educated on good to be anything other than what they are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's again, that's that part where again, this is just a little bit of effort. Kathy, I've not said anything to you that says you have to go get a PhD and a 20-year degree and some 5 years of internship and have $1 million in the bank to get ready. This is just you putting forth effort to talk about what's right and wrong and
Mhm,
push back.
mhm.
Here's the greatest analogy I love to use. If this room was completely black and you couldn't see me, there's no light in penetrating here because it's so dark, the camera's just struggling, can't find anything. If I were to light a lighter and just go like this, the
Mhm.
darkness would be immediately pushed back.
Right.
Immediately pushed back. But see, the dark can't push back on the light. And then we have that I think we've talked about this on before, is that, in our childhood Sunday school song, I had this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I put it under a bushel. No, I'm gonna let it shine. Now, in the juvenile, childlike mind, innocence of that song is profound in adults' lives and should be adults should cleave to that. They should be drawn to that statement
Mhm.
because they know no matter what little light they may project, what little light that they think they can flicker with a little match, they're just like, oh, I got this little light. It still pushes back darkness.
Right. Right.
And if more little lights come together, then you have a lot of little lights. And those little lights push darkness back further and further. And you do it together and you come together and you become brighter and more intense and you can't be taken over because only light pushes back darkness. Darkness cannot push back against light.
Yeah.
And think about how easy that is. If you have that promise, if I can promise you that right now,
Mhm.
then why aren't we all running to the light and then putting that light out instead of hiding it and not telling anybody? Well, I'm a Trump supporter, but I don't tell anybody. Well, I'm a Christian, but I don't tell anybody. I'm a
Right.
conservative, but I don't tell anybody. Well, I don't think we should kill babies, but I don't tell anybody. You're a sinner. That's your sin. Deal with it. Like you're not willing to testify. I thought that's what didn't that wasn't that what Peter did? Was it Peter who denied Christ a few times? And I don't say anything. Well, neither did he. Neither did Peter. He didn't say nothing either. And God said, "Hey, why are you denying me?"
Yeah.
But see, even though you said, "Well, I don't want to say anything," well, he didn't say anything either.
Yeah.
Which one's a sin? Peter saying it Or are you saying it? Or are they both a sin? You both are denying, right?
Well, we definitely know that most everybody is sinners of word, thought, and deed. Some are bigger than others.
Mhm.
And obviously, knowing it hopefully will help you to stop it. So you will live out the truth, even if it hurts of what you're saying, the truth will set you free.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Um, and yeah, it does. It sets you free. Guys, the more I tell people about, just if you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tell you about it. Hey, I'm a two-time felon. I don't have a problem with it. I am a two-time felon for a digital scale in my house. I'm a felon for paraphernalia. Look it up. James Price. If you want my birthday and all that, I'll let you. I don't see the thing is, I don't, you have it. Because what I was doing in my life, and when I protected my son, I was doing it because I knew it was the right thing to do, and I knew what their evil was. And those 15 police officers who tore my house apart on my birthday and left me in a cop car for 6 hours waiting for them to find whatever it is they were looking for, those men defined themselves in that moment. And then
right.
I'm going to tell you right now, that case is getting ready to pop off next year. So those guys who sat around for the last 3 to 4 years who, thought they got away with one, well, they're going to be in federal court because the Department of Justice will be picking that case up and moving it forward against two judges, the department for the DA's assistants, the sheriff, and the police chief. All will be brought up on charges. So again, I don't. I stood up for my son. I said, whatever you found in the house is mine. I had a digital scale in my house.
Wow.
That's the truth. But those men tearing apart my house, destroying collectibles, destroying everything, dumping things on the floor, taking my pillowcases off, emptying out every one of my closets, doing all those things, that defines them. That
Exactly.
is how they are defined. I define myself as the man who decided to go out and I guess I preach about it, but I'm not a preacher. I used to be a youth pastor, but talking about freedoms and liberties, because knowing how easily it can be snatched away because someone wants to keep their job.
Yeah.
Because those guys with the badge and a gun could have said, you know what, I'm not willing to victimize an innocent man. I'm not willing to destroy a man's life because you guys want political power.
Wow.
And they could have
Right.
done that.
Well, we've all know that freedom isn't free, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's never been free.
No. And there's a price for it, and there's a price not to have it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty crazy stuff that you went through.
Well, and hey, no, we talked about this earlier. Remember, you said, well, maybe because I think maybe did you say like, well, maybe you were a little stubborn, you had to go that far, to kind of get your mind to change. I honestly will tell you that that's how stubborn I was. Guys, my stubbornness, my inability to want to be wrong, my struggle with my own ego, with my own gotta be right, all this other stuff, not admitting my wrongs. That's why I had to be broken. That's why I had to be raided. That's why
Mm.
I lost a fortune. And I mean, it's a lot of money. The money I used to make in Department of Defense contracting as a guy, I made a lot of money, did a lot of great projects, was very wealthy, had a car collection, the whole thing. And I thought I had everything worked out. I was paying my taxes. I was doing, was writing off my mileage. I was doing all the right things, checking all the boxes, being Mr. Citizen, saluting. I'm a disabled vet. I did all the right things.
Mhm.
But my plan wasn't what God had for me.
Right.
Because I've been in public speaking positions. I've always been in positions of authority. I've always been put in those positions. I had my own construction company, was always a leader of men, and had big projects and these things. But I wasn't there yet.
Mm.
I wasn't there inside yet.
Mm.
And yes, this political movement of things, of me getting pushed into this arena, was necessary because men like me need to be out there talking about this. Women like you need to be out there talking about this. We need to be doing this together and combined and not fighting with each other. This is absolutely necessary. But listen to me, folks. You guys will sit around in your recliners and your easy chairs and your whatevers and talking about how, I've been to church every Sunday since I was born. Well, guys, I will tell you, I was a youth pastor. I didn't cuss for 10 years. I was a vegan. I've done all the other stuff. I've tried all the different things. I've tried the recipes, had the shirt, wore it out, threw it away. I still had to work on me. and
Right.
my selfishness and my self-centeredness and my inability to understand that the world is greater than I am.
Mm,
And I was a guy who did more for others. I was a very giving guy, but I still had some stuff in here.
right.
I had to let go of some old childhood stuff. I had to go ahead and let some adult stuff. I had to work out some different things with me and my creator, and I had to go through some things. And so that's what I did. And I will tell you, the man I was in 2016, 2018, when the raid happened, and the second raid happened in 2019, 9 months later, battering ram to your front door, SWAT team, full gear, shields, laser dot to your forehead. If you move, I'm gonna blow your effing brains out. This is how far the God had to go to get my attention
Wow.
because I wasn't. I was doing the right thing. I was in the programming. I was programmed right. I was doing my right thing. I was programmed. But was I the right thing? Was I the right guy? I had the short hair. I had the big boy. I call it the big boy haircut. Never had hair touching my ears. Everything was in this, just nice, and always went down to the barber, got a good clean haircut. When my hair started touching my ears, I was losing my mind. I
Mm,
had never had hair touching my ears my entire life. And as it started to grow out, I started realizing that even in the story of Samson,
mm,
that in his last moment with his eyes plucked out,
mm,
he was able to sense and see the world around him because his hair had actually grown back. And he was able to see the weakest point of the temple and killed more Pharisees in that final moment of his life than he had had his entire life as a warrior. So
wow.
imagine what God is doing for you with your hair. He gave you a nerve to the end of every hair. He gave you a muscle connected to every hair with a nerve connected to that. And you tell me your hair is not important? Your hair should be shaved off. What's the first thing they do to you in basic training? What's the first thing they do at Auschwitz? They shave your head.
Right.
So the sad part of it is to take someone's identity away, like when you saw Britney Spears shave her head, that was a mental break. That's a character change. That takes away your identity, your personality, who you are, your connection to the world around you. Why do you think hair is not that?
Mm,
God gave it to you. God gave you a biblical story directly in there. There's not a lot of stories in there. There's not billions of stories in there. There's not billions of people's names in there. There's Samson. And it's a long story. And he really talked about it, how his hair was important. But
mm,
yet we don't think of that in today's modern day because in World War I, we started using fluoride gas and chlorine gas. And so men had to shave their heads and their faces to be able to secure the gas mask to their face. Because prior to that, if you go back to all the generals and all the different servicemen for all the hundreds of years before the First World War, all of our generals had long hair. Our leaders purposely had long hair. George Washington had long hair.
right.
Ben Franklin had long hair. Why? Why did they men that couldn't grow hair put wigs on to show they had long hair? So again, I'm just trying to point out to you guys that there's a lot of things in our world around us and the connections of what we have that we should be thinking of things differently. I
Right.
had to be crushed. And guys, I will tell you right now, I have on this camera, on this laptop, I have cried, I have yelled, I have cussed, I given it up my all. I've told you how I feel.
Mm,
I've sat in my living room watching out the front room waiting for another raid I
mm,
mean, it's been a lot of years of that PTSD effect.
yeah.
I had to be broken down and get through all that and cry it out and be hurt and confused and not know what's going on and why is this government coming after me when I've served my country. I was a DoD contractor, a perfect background. I've seen the nuclear installations. I've seen inside of the stealth bombers and the A-10s, and I've been around all this stuff. But that doesn't mean anything. None of that means anything unless I get my heart right.
Right. It's
Because all
all,
that's junk.
yeah, it's
It,
always about the heart because out of the mouth, the heart speaks.
yeah, yeah.
And
And
so
so
you,
it was necessary. So sometimes you got to get pushed into, you got to be kind of muddled up and become something amazing. And I'm not saying I'm amazing yet. I think I got a long way to go, guys. I've
mm,
been doing this 8 years now, or it's been longer than that even. And I, um, I don't even think I've begun 1% of my health journey, my spiritual journey, my intellectual journey, my understanding of how the programming we're in. I think I'm only 1% of the way there.
mm,
So
yeah.
imagine where the rest of people really are and how much we really need each other to get out of this trap.
Well, it's almost like you have to come to the end of yourself before and you're on your face on the ground like I was, years ago and just saying, I surrender because my picker was broke. I was doing the wrong things, making the decisions with the wrong men in my life for the wrong reasons. And when I let go and let God and said, obviously, your plan is much better than mine,
Yeah.
and grateful to, just, like you said, it's not easy walking that out because our ego, which means edging God out, always rears its head when the pressure gets a little much. So, but
Yeah.
boy, once you literally say, Jesus, take the wheel, no pun intended,
Yeah.
um, your life will change and it will be for the better because he never takes us backwards. He always takes us forward and up as long as you're willing to follow.
Yeah. Well, let go, let God. I think that's a little bit too cliche, but in reality, what it is, I think I used to think of that as like let go, let God. I mean, I just, oh, God will take me. I'm just gonna float along. No.
No.
What it is let go of trying to dictate to God what is happening, but
Right.
allowing yourself to be able to have those moments where you see those touches, right? You see those things, but if you got to be able to say, "Hey, this is going to be fine. It's not where I want to go, but this is going to be fine. This is going to be great. I don't have a problem with that." Yeah, it's not what I thought I was going to do, not what I thought I was going to be, but I'm okay. But see that cycle of things?
Mhm.
That's the difference right there, where you take yourself out of the situation and you enjoy it, you experience it. It's like being on a roller coaster. The person who sits there and holds onto that bar as tight as they can in front of them is going to have a horrible time compared to the person who's got their hand above their head going, yeah, let's do it again. The person's like, oh, God, let me, because they think that if they hold on tighter, they can slow it down. They can make it less swirly, whirly, and dirty, right? Oh, if I hold on tighter, hold on tighter. No, let
Mhm.
go.
Right.
Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride.
Well, the other
So,
thing is you have to be willing to trust, and that's a hard thing, trusting anything and everything that goes forward.
yeah.
When you have surrendered, is that there's either he's going to be your protector and your provider. So even when things don't go the way you want, you know that there's some reason that you trust
Mhm.
the process and trust the trail that you're on because you have said, I'm letting go of the bar, I'm letting go of the wheel and letting you drive this bus.
Yeah. I mean, think about that. You think you know better? I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I don't care if you're 90 years old or 8 years old. You're a little Christian sitting there. You like answer the question. You
Yeah,
think you know better than God? You got it all worked out, huh? So you think if He opens a door for you, you're like, well, I'll pray about it. He already opened the door for you. There's a lot of things you don't have to pray for that He's already doing that you're not realizing, like your heart beating at night while you sleep.
exactly.
Like you're like, okay, I gotta make sure my heart's beating before I go to sleep. Okay, I'm the only one that can do this. I'm the only. Are you? Are you the only one that can do that? Are you sure? Because God gave you a lot of thought. Let go, guys.
Yeah,
So,
a lot about ego, that's for sure.
oh yeah,
And you once you get past that and realize that that's damaging you and not getting you where he wants you to be, and so you have to let go.
admit you're wrong.
Right. It's okay
Just
to be
that's
wrong.
it. That's it. I'm wrong. I screwed that up, man. I did not get that right. Did you see this? Look, see what I was doing here? I was trying to make this happen like this, and that didn't go. So I got to see how easy that is.
Yeah,
You did it wrong, so tell people how you did it wrong. You know what? They get to learn, and you get to learn, and they get to learn that you're honest about things that you really shouldn't be honest about. You didn't have to tell me about that, Jim. Well, I did. I screwed it up. I didn't get it right.
mm.
You see that you see the differences in that? I mean, that makes so much difference. So,
Oh yeah. Well, I always say there was only one perfect person that walked this world, and it was Jesus. It wasn't any of us. And anyone that thinks that they're living in a glass house, they can try and throw the first stone.
I was not that guy, and I don't think I want that responsibility. I screw up enough, and can't even imagine trying to be perfect. It's
That's extreme high pressure.
it is. That's a lot. It
You
is.
talk
That's a
about
lot
the
of
stress.
pressure.
You talk about the physical reactions that are going to happen when you're trying to be perfect. We
Yeah.
weren't, we're not ever going to be perfect.
No, no. And
And
that's the thing is that's almost the fallacy of trying to chase that.
yeah,
Owning who you are and understanding free will, you get your free will under control and you can know who you are. You're just I mean, we all pray and we all do the songs at church, right? Oh, I'm a sinner, Jesus. Oh, are you being a hypocrite? Are you just doing that for show for the lady next door to you? Or are you actually saying, "Hey, I'm an idiot. I get it wrong all the time. I'm a sinner." Do you really mean it? Are
Yeah.
you saying it because it's what we're supposed to say? Or do you really like, you know what, man, I didn't walk on water getting in here. Hey, I'm doing the best I got. I am doing everything I can. I'm going to try and try. This is all I got. If you got better information, let's get this done, right?
Yeah.
But that's again, that's admitting your faults and those slow, those things that you got to work on. I did. I'm telling you, yeah, Kathy. I don't know where everybody is out there and how your show works with people that are working on themselves. But guys, when I tell you I'm only 1% of the way there, I'm embarrassed to say that I don't even know if I'm that far.
Yeah.
And it's a daily struggle. I'm a daily struggle of wanting to, well, yeah, no, that was me. I was wanting to hesitate to say it wasn't me and I was going to make a story for it, an excuse for it, but I went ahead and told you the truth. I
Um,
struggle with that every day. So why is it I mean, that's it every day. I'm consciously thinking of trying to get myself to be honest about me. That's
yeah.
the first honesty. If this honesty here, hey, the rest of that stuff will work out. If we all
Right.
got real honest with us, with ourselves,
Yeah.
then it just because we're all being honest with each other, so we see each other for who we really are. We're taking the mask off. We're taking away the cloaks and the fake and the sin and all the things that we think we have to put out here for people to see that this is who I want you to see.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about the mask because this is my book, Jim, is Unmasked, the Power of Courage and Vulnerability to Live Free, No More Settling, Shame, or Self-Betrayal.
Right?
And that was published in 2020 when everyone was wearing a mask. And it was the greatest thing for setting myself free because I was wearing a mask. I was pretending that this relationship that I had was perfect and I was faking it. My family thought I was still engaged to the guy. I was wearing his ring because I didn't want anyone to know. You talk about a mask and
Right.
3 years of living hell. And finally, it was just like, I was, like I said, surrendering on my face in my prayer room saying, Jesus, take the wheel. I am done picking. My picker's broke. And through the grace of God and a lot of work, but also being very vulnerable and willing to stand up and tell people that no, my life isn't perfect and this is what I did. When I told my family that I was engaged to this particular person that was not of a Christian, and we're talking where it's all about science, shall we say?
Mhm.
And when I told my family at the end that this is the relationship that he had with his spiritual walk, they were just like, now that makes sense because it was a roller coaster ride from hell.
Wow. Yeah.
And I tell you, it's like looking for love in all the wrong places. The mistakes that you make are not necessarily mistakes. They're lessons that you should hopefully will learn so you don't repeat them. And through the grace of God, 3 years after that, being totally on my face and letting him lead, married the most amazing man that is a pastor and is very loving. And here's your sign, Jim, is for the audience, the women that are when your friends are to not one person is impressed with the man that you're with, there's your sign because they're seeing things that you don't see. And yet now I'm married to this man that they like him better than they do me. And he's very loving and generous. And I always say he's my Jesus with clothes on
There you
because
go.
Jesus, of course, was on the cross with a loincloth. And so and I think that's the whole idea is this that we want to be more like Jesus, and that's a daily, hourly, minute walk.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
the thing about that, when you accept yourself, when you learn to accept yourself, you actually find greater things in others. You actually find others complete you and bring more to you than you thought before. But when you're always holding them here and you're doing all, again, you're going to see that there's a lot more. You got to let go of yourself to be able to accept others. See, if you're holding on to you and your stuff, can you hold on to others? No,
Yeah.
because your arms are too busy in here, right? But if I'm going to open myself up and say, hey, here's who I am. Who wants
Yep.
to come in here? Who wants to be a part of what's going on? You want to make me make space for you? Come on in. I don't have to make space for you because you can just come on in. I don't have
Yes.
to make space for you. You're a part of who I am and part of what I'm doing.
Right.
So
And for me, that becomes my ministry is to stand with my arms wide open and literally be vulnerable and letting people know that no, I don't have it all together. And I hope one day that I will, but I'm in a process like everybody else. And every day we get to start over and we can either choose to speak life into people or death. And so I encourage people to speak life at all times. And setting yourself free is the name of this podcast. And there's a reason for that. We need to set ourselves free from whatever is holding us back from whatever God's plan is for our life, which is much better than our own.
Yeah. I mean, think about that. He's got a plan for you. And if you think that for some reason that you're like, oh, the Jesus I want a Rode mic, it's going to be black with a silver mesh. It's going to have these little knobs on the side. It's going to have a little stand right here, a little plug thing going on the end. That's not what it's going to look like because God's got a different plan. Like, I was in speech therapy as a kid because I was in a horrible child. I had a horrible childhood. It's not even, that's like a whole, that's a mini series of going through an interview with that. But as a kid, when I'm going through all those things, I just had a complete. So when I was thinking about when I wasn't speaking, right? Like as a kid, I was going through speech therapy because of my childhood stuff I was going through. All of a sudden now I spend my life public speaking. It's not what I wanted to do. I didn't think when I said on my campaign page, I said, well, I think I'm gonna start a podcast. And I literally just put it out there. I was like, nobody's gonna see this. I had like 10,000 followers or 15,000 followers on my campaign page, and I'm like, whatever. I think I'm gonna start a podcast. And this was back before podcasts were a thing. This was 2018, and my buddy goes, well, why don't you just start a radio show? I'm like, so I text Seth, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, hey man, we'll just get you'd be great on a radio show. You want to do a radio show? We'll get you on KQAM and FM. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, let's meet next Tuesday. I'm like, all right. So I met with him on Tuesday. 2 weeks later, I was on the radio. And then 6 months later, I was interviewing Rudy Giuliani on my show for 30 minutes on a Saturday night, talking about the Hunter Biden laptop. October right before the election, I had Rudy Giuliani on my show talking about Hunter Biden's laptop on Halloween because he was actually trick-or-treating with his grandkids on the phone with me, interviewing with me. And this is from a guy who just decided to run for politics and who's had his life taken away and is selling off all his cars and lawyers and judges and all this other stuff's going on. And all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, why don't you just go start talking publicly on the radio? And the first time I was on the radio, I'd never been on the radio. And I just did it. And it was, but I didn't know it was going to be something I would be able to do. I didn't know it was an opportunity, but I would limited myself.
Right. Limiting beliefs are always the kicker.
Yeah. Only one person that ever limits you, and I don't care what it's in, is you.
Exactly.
If you think climbing stairs, losing weight, whatever it is, learning a new skill, the only one that ever stops you is you. I guarantee you that in your life. I can guarantee anybody out there. Oh, well, I have a bad foot. Well, then use the other one.
Yeah.
That's an excuse. So, and excuses are like, buttholes. Everybody's got one. So what makes yours special? So, just let's all find a reason for success. And then the pain of that other foot might go away. The exercise may heal that thing. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, this has been enlightening. This has been awesome. And so many things to think about. And again, this is Katie Huff Mortensen with Katie Huff Ministries with Setting Yourself Free with Mr. Jim Price from the Jim Price Show. And he's got some incredible supplements that are amazing that I can't wait for you to hear about on my show. And he can even say something even right now, because of course I'm needing them, because I'm all about being preventative and proactive versus reactive and costly.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I was thinking like, we want to get out of here before we get the mushrooms to talk about. So real quick, guys, Katie's going to be out there. She's going to get her own affiliate code, and she's going to have an affiliate code for Silly Gnome. Silly Gnome Mushrooms is a mushroom line I started working on, and really started working on a year ago about this time. And it's called Silly Gnome because I was thinking of like, what do you see mushrooms in the garden, and like all garden gnomes and stuff like that. And so I spelled it PSILLYGNOME. So you go sillygnome.com or PSILLY, that's silly. Well, I put that in there because a lot of people think, oh, mushroom psilocybin. There's always this, that's the stuff that actually causes you to hallucinate. Well, the sad part of it is that if you actually know anything about those kind of mushrooms, they don't make you hallucinate. But these are lion's mane, chaga, reishi, and turkey tail. So you have the lion's mane, which is the brain. You have the reishi, which actually even scientists have proven that reishi allows you to see and hear your God, your creator. I know that sounds weird that they would actually study something like this, but it's actually Yale and Harvard and a bunch of other schools around the world have actually studied that reishi uh, decalcifies the pineal gland, allows a sense of an environment. And when they said people would take this reishi, they could almost have better peripheral. They had more of a sense around them. And then you got the lion's mane's for the brain. You got the reishi has got the third eye right here. I'm sorry, I'm doing this a little visual for you, but then you got turkey tail. Turkey tail. A lot of people think of turkey tail as like the anti-cancer, but it's abnormal cell. It gets rid of abnormal cells, but it also helps all the organs. So you have the turkey tail, which goes in and around the heart and the organs and the lungs and all those things in your body, and it goes in and it helps the organs of things, helps the cell, gets rid of the old cells of things. And then you have the chaga, which is the gut. This is the gut health. This is the microbiome. And all four of these mushrooms, why are these different, Katie? Why do we do this? You remember did I tell you about this?
Well, I know the one thing is obviously it's a tincture versus a pill, which is
That's
huge.
true. Yep.
And then just the way it is absorbed.
Right. Perfect. See, you're good. Good job, Katie. You're doing great. So what we did with these is this is a fruit only mushroom. Now, the reason that I say fruit only is because other mushrooms that are on the market, and there's some big name brands out there that make a lot of money. Those mushrooms are what we do is we were using different types of mediums to grow our mushrooms in. So we started using these Milo blocks with some other organic material in there. And then we would inject the mycelium. My mycelium is the roots, or it's the propagation, the spores of. So we start growing the mycelium in the block, and then we make sure we cut those bags open and we allow the lion's mane, the turkey tail, the reishi, the chaga to come out, and then we cut the fruit off, and then we throw that brick away. And then we have this fruit, we have this mushroom fruit, right? And we throw the brick away. Well, what everybody else does is they use steamed rice, white rice, and they propagate their block. And when the mycelium fills out, the roots of the mushroom fill out, they grind it up and feed it to you. Now, where did our processes split?
Right.
See, right about there, right? So they take the block that I propagate the mushrooms into. I put the spores in there. Well, see, I go and I let the mushrooms grow out of it, and I cut the mushrooms off, and I throw the brick away. But what did I say they do? They let the mycelium and the roots grow out, and then they grind that up and they feed that to you.
Yeah.
So the difference is what I'm doing is fruit only, and then what we've done is use a vacuum process, and that's what makes ours different. Two things. One, it's absolutely fruit only, period. No brown rice, no white rice flour, none of that. Mine is fruit only, and we use a vacuum. So when you take this tincture, are all of these actually closed? No, this one's open. Okay, so here's how. This is what I. So this is vacuumed open. The mushroom is opened into your vacuum released in the tincture like this. If you see how that's solid looking, there's no clear.
Right.
Well, when you put this in your mouth, and I'm going to finish my this is the turkey tail, which is really great for you. So as you put it in your mouth, the mushrooms, because they're vacuum open, they're bioavailable in the mouth. The mouth starts to absorb small particles of the mushrooms the longer you leave it in your mouth. Now, because it's an alcohol tincture, it can be a little spicy, but we distill it 5 different times trying to make sure we're getting down to just the purest of mushroom. And as you absorb that in your mouth and you swallow it, it absorbs in the esophagus and through the stomach lining. It never has to go into the intestines and be processed that way. Now, the other ones that give you the mushroom roots, the mycelium, when you take that capsule, well, the capsule has to go into your stomach. It has to be opened up, and then it starts going through the liver, dumps some bile in there, and the small intestine gets started, and all then it starts going in, and it starts absorbing through the body that way.
Yeah.
See, I'm already making it bioavailable. If you're taking lion's mane, which goes to the brain, right, which is good for the brain, the myelin of the brain, it brings in new neural activity and all kinds of amazing stuff. You can do this stuff with stroke victims and dementia and heart attacks and different things like that. Anyway, these tinctures allow that to be absorbed here as opposed to be brought into the stomach, which means it has to be broken down, which means you're losing more product. Right. You're losing more product, where this... What I do first thing in the morning is I take a full dropper, and I don't know if you guys can really see the color in that, but that's actually the color of it. And this is the turkey tail. Now we've got new labels. This is the new labels that we're doing. The color matches the tincture inside.
Okay.
And this is our old bottle label. This is the old series, but it's the same process. So you put it under your tongue, just like
Right.
that.
Because that's where it absorbs the best and the
Right.
most. Hmm.
Now, some people will say, oh, one in the morning, one at night. I will tell you, if you drink this whole thing, you've got 2 ounces of alcohol with a lot of mushrooms in it, and it's never going to hurt you. The alcohol will process through your body and escape out, usually through its natural processes. But
Right.
the turkey tail or the lion's mane or the chaga or the reishi is going to go in there and it's going to wash in. And the beautiful thing about mushrooms, folks, the reason that these are so amazing in our DNA of things, when you see that they say, well, apes and all that stuff are our cousins, like, so they're so close, they're right next to us. There's pigs and apes, and there's, these things are mammals, right?
Right.
Mushrooms are literally your brother or sister. Mushrooms are more bioidentical to you than you are of an ape. You are more like a mushroom. These bring something to you that nothing else on earth will do, and they're adaptogenic.
That's
There
great.
is nothing else that does what these do. They change themselves into what your body needs. And
Mm.
that's why these are special. So this turkey tail, I just put that under my tongue. I swallowed with some water. You saw how I took it. I didn't gag and, like as a
Right.
whole. Oh my God,
Right.
I think I'm gonna die. Oh, thank God, health is horrible. Health is horrible. But it has a bit of an alcohol taste to it. But I will tell you guys, I have testimonies. I had one testimony that this lady had. There's the disease that your fingers go white from cold or temperature change, and they
Right.
become really painful. So they just
Right.
go flush white, and they try to push the blood. Well, we've had a testimony that within 6 months of someone taking these mushrooms, now they were taking all four, so we don't know which one to attribute it to, which was probably closer to the lion's mane because lion's mane has things to do with neural connectivity, but also they're all doing what they need to do for your body. They're adaptogenic. Well, they quit having that now. So they're going into winter
Yeah.
and they're like, wait, I was supposed to have that finger thing. What happened to my hands going pale white from the cold?
Right.
Doesn't happen anymore.
It's
And
awesome.
all they've done differently is literally just take these.
That's
And
incredible.
so Dr. Artis, let me give you this, guys. Listen, Katie, you're a part of this, and this is an amazing thing. Dr. Artis has gone in, he stopped taking all of his supplements 4 months ago. 1 month ago, he is only taking these. These four,
Wow.
right? This is all Dr. Artis is taking. Now, why is he doing that? Well, he wants to see as a baseline in his own experiment. He said he would do this for me. This was his own deal. He goes, Jim, I haven't taken supplements for 3 months. I just got my blood work done. I just got my eye test done. I'm going to take your mushrooms for 3 months, and I'm going to get a new blood test and a new eye test, and I want to see what it's done for me. And so we're going to see here in about 2 months where Dr. Artis is, because he takes all four of these every single day. So does his wife. So does his daughter-in-laws. The entire Artis family is taking all four of these every day. So
Wow.
there's a great testimony that shows that these are really working, and he's going to give us a proof positive in his body and the effect that he has on the mushrooms, or how the mushrooms have an effect on his body.
Well, I'm excited to see it this week because we'll be together this week and get my bottles and start mine as well because I'm looking forward to definitely the lion's mane. I've been doing capsules, but the tinctures are going to be absorbed better and all the things that you've done for that. And I'm looking forward to all of them. So
Oh, it's going to be awesome. And by the way, guys, you're going to help Katie out. Well, by
yeah.
the way, when you're buying these bottles from Silly Gnome, PSILLYGNOME.com, when you buy Silly Gnome, you're helping Katie and with her ministry and helping her and her husband move forward. So this is our way of bringing something to you that's going to be amazing for your body, what God has given you to do this with. Your body can do it's going to change itself to what your body needs. If I take a drop right here and Katie takes a drop right here, what she gets out of it is different than what I get out of it because my body needs something different. And that's how brilliant mushrooms are. So we need to think of it that way. But she's going to get benefit. She gets benefit of these every single bottle sold. So you guys are helping her as you're helping yourself.
And tell them what the address would be. Is it sillygnome.com/unmasked?
No, what you'll do is at checkout, you will put in unmasked. And
Okay, great.
so there'll be a coupon code. If you put in the coupon code unmasked, that will go in there. Now, Just make sure to put that in there. She'll get credit for that, and it'll be awesome for her to be able to help you guys, see you guys on your health journey. And by the way, guys, a health journey doesn't mean you're on a diet. Health journey doesn't mean you've given up cigarettes or whatever it is. A health journey is your first step. It's the first step. It's a step. It is understanding that you're not fat, you're inflamed. Understanding that we have disruption of glyphosate, which is Roundup in our bodies causing cell disruption. When you learn these things, the terms, you change them so you become the controller of your body. You know what your body is doing and how you want it to be. When you change it and you change your mindset, you will get healthy. And that first journey is just a step. If that means that you just drink one more glass of water instead of a soda, that's a step, guys. That you just keep making that one step every day. Well, I'm going to skip breakfast, or I'm going to skip lunch today. Well, now I'm going to skip 2 meals today. I'm going to start fasting 15 hours at a time. This is a step. And if this is the first step for you, I have people that have a testimony, including Larry, fresh mouth guy, the toothpaste guy. He said he loves taking the lion's mane because he literally feels it wash over his head, over his brain. He feels it when he takes it within about 20 minutes, he notices he can just feels like he can see more and do more. He can think faster.
Awesome. Yes. It's going to be great, especially for the women with their menopausal issues.
Oh yeah, there's so much. There's so much to that. By the way, women, we should not be going through menopause. Then I say we, because we go through it with you. So don't act like you're all by yourself.
Exactly.
So you just think about that. It's just one of those things, right? It's just one of those things. We keep thinking that menopause is necessary. We keep thinking that dis-ease is necessary. We keep thinking aging is necessary. I don't think there's anywhere in the Bible that said any of that.
It didn't.
So let's live long and happy and piss off the evil people. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Well, this has been absolutely educational and inspiring, and I'm thrilled to have the Jim Price Show with Mr. Jim Price. And you need to, again, remember, you need to be on X and Spotify, Apple, Rumble, Facebook, all of the platforms we're on. Katie Huff Ministries, please go there. And I will be having my silly gnomes information with the Unmasked is where you're going to go. And I want you to just have an incredibly healthy life and lifestyle and no more inflammation in the name of Jesus. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jim. God bless.
We'll see you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Katie Huff with Katie Huff Ministries, and I am coming to you today to encourage you to put 2024 as your best year ever. And how are you going to do that? By putting your health and healing as your number one priority. How do you do that? You go to officialsynapse.com. and you go to where it says free consult, free discovery call. It's free. This people at Synapse are amazing. They're going to get you on the road to health and healing in 2024. And so again, it's free. Go to officialsynapse.com and click on that free discovery call and make 2024 your best year ever. God bless you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Katie Huff with Katie Huff Ministries, and this is Bella Jean, and we're coming to you today to talk to you about setting yourself free by having first a great night's sleep. How's that going to happen? By using My Pillow. My Pillow has incredible products. Bella Jean even has her own dog bed and loves it. She sleeps well at night, so do we. Because we also have the topper, we have the pillows, we've used the sheets, we have the towels, and we even have the slippers. So we are a family that loves My Pillow as much as my Bella Jean, and I'm hoping that your dog will love it as much as ours, and that you'll go to mypillow.com/unmasked. Again, that's mypillow.com/unmasked, and you'll get incredible discounts for your family to be setting themselves free to having a great night's sleep and having an amazing holiday season with My Pillow products. Thank you.